Hey, this is Jeremy, and welcome to the Daily Devo. Today, we want to talk about listening like you mean it. There are very few people who are naturally great at listening and communicating. Believe it or not, listening is not a passive skill, but an active one. You got to stay focused and disciplined on hearing what is being said. So let me tell you a story about myself that's a little embarrassing. I had been married about 2 years, and like many couples, my wife and I started running into some problems. So we decided to take a class on communication. In this class, they teach you how to listen like you mean it. So my wife and I are standing across from each other, and she starts off the conversation. About 20 seconds into it, the coach stopped her and looked at me and said, "Jeremy, what did you hear her say?" I proceeded to repeat with absolute confidence what I heard her say. And coach and my wife both looked at me baffled. My coach then proceeds to tell me that's not at all what my wife had said. Let's try this again. I'm embarrassed to say that it took me 4 tries to get this right. Now, before you start getting all judgy towards me, let's read James chapter 1 and verse 19, and I'll show you where I messed up. And I bet if you're honest, you've probably made the same mistakes. It says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires." This verse is just so powerful. It tells us to do the exact opposite of what comes naturally during conflict. This isn't a marriage principle. It's a principle that will work in your job, your friendships, your dating life, or just about anything else you can think of that requires communication. Now, let's get to where I messed up and see if I can help you avoid the same mistakes I made. My first mistake was my thinking was centered around not what was said, but what I thought my wife really meant by what was said. This is a critical mistake in learning how to listen like you mean it. It's often the result of a problem you have regularly discussed and come to no meaningful resolution. When she spoke, I was pulling in past conversations and feelings about the topic, and when we do this, all it does is produce anger and hurt. We need to make a commitment to listen to what is actually said. The second thing I messed up on was I was actively working on a comeback as she was talking to me. By the time she was done talking, I had a rebuttal already prepared. This caused me to miss much of what she was saying because I found a flaw in something she said and I felt I could use it to win the argument. When we communicate with people, we want to make sure that the goal isn't to be right, but to find agreement. Agreement is the place of power and it's the place of change. And the only way to do that is to listen like you mean it, to actively pay attention to what is being said, not what you think someone meant, and not partially listening while working a response. Eventually, I sorted myself out and I was able to repeat what was said and deal only with what was said. Once I practiced this and got better at it, an amazing thing happened. It removed the tension and the anger from our conversations. This takes time and most importantly, it takes practice, but it's absolutely worth it. The people in your life deserve your undivided attention. And if you'll give this a shot this week, I think you'll find this godly principle will enrich all your relationships. Thanks for joining us today on the Daily Devo.